chums, welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's well. As promised, I'm going to do a quick video on lead weights and the differences and what uses they have. To the beginner, a lead weight's just a lead weight. It's just something heavy enough to get the rig out and down to where they want to fish, which is all fair and good. It doesn't have to be any more technical than that. If you want to improve your chances of catching fish, lead weights can be pretty priceless. Different types of lead weights offer different advantages in different conditions. But without making it really complicated, we're going to dive in and we're going to start with my first and most favourite lead for fishing the beaches and the rivers when I want to move things around a little bit. So, first and foremost, we'll have the ball lead, or a cannonball weight as they're called. I carry these in 3 and 4 ounce leads, mainly because my light rods are rated for those weights. Excellent searching weight. This lead allows the rig to trundle along the bottom. If you imagine there, you've got the seabed. It's going to trundle along the bottom, and if there's any holes, it's going to find some holes, it's going to roll in, and it's going to sit there. The holes on the beaches and the divots and gullies are important because that's where the fish sit. That's where the fish wait for their food or search for the food. Sorry, can't talk today. Or search for the food. And it's also kind of a fish highway. They use it to navigate the beach and to get from one place to another rather than going up and along the flats where it's exposed, where they can be exposed to predators, etc. But it doesn't have to be as technical as that. That's just going deeply into it. But this is by far one of my favourite leads for fishing the beach and the river when I want to move the rig around and search where the fish are. On a hard day, this lead can change the way that your rig fishes, and that's what's important. That's why not all leads are the same and there are differences. But I do love these. They're readily available. You should be able to get them from your local tackle shop. If not, you can get them online at Veals, which is where I got these from. But try a local tackle shop first. Obviously, give them some support. That's more important. But yeah, great lead for searching. I don't use them anywhere but the sand and the mud. That's it. To be honest, mainly sand. Mud, not so much. I do have different leads, which we're going to come to. But that's my first lead of choice, the cannonball lead. Brilliant for targeting flounders, plaice, any flatfish, even round fish. It just depends. But really versatile, excellent weight to have in your armoury. Secondly, we're going to come on to watch leads, or watch grip leads, whatever you want to call them. I call them watch leads. I've got 2 types that I carry. First one is the normal watch lead. This is the classic. This one's been around for decades. Great idea, great invention. And the second one I have is a pair. So this is a pair grip. But what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the grips first. So if you look at that flat on, it's got grips all the way around one side and all the way around the other. The aim of this, sits on the sand, digs in a little bit, gives you, I would only use these in a moderate surf about 1 foot to 2 foot, then they become ineffective. Going back to the ball lead as well, actually, depending on size of tide and the sea conditions, the lead can be changed because it does, the sea conditions and the tide does dictate, I'm getting words out today, can't I, chums? Does dictate which type of leads are going to be effective and what you can actually use. So anyway, so that digs in the sand like such, and if there's not much tide movement, it'll just sit there quite happily. A little bit of moderate tide movement or a little bit swell, it will move around, but every time that moves around, these little dimples in it there, the little grips, will kick up sand or mud. Now that in turn will bring the fish in. They're very inquisitive. The fish will come in, see what the disturbance is all about, and they'll find your baits with a bit of luck and take your bait. A very movable lead. You can pull this because you might often see, if you watch some of my videos, every now and again I'll tweak the line, I'll pull it. Basically what that does is it drags the lead a little bit along the bottom, kicks up some sediment, and the fish hopefully come in to have a look. Now these don't cast very well. They're mainly used for close range, not for long range fishing. If you want the same action, you want the leg to dig in and kick up some sediment, but you want the distance, that's where the pair lead comes in. This is a pair watch. So basically it's exactly the same as that one. Granted, the dimples aren't as big on this one, it's been used a lot. But it's more aerodynamic and easier to cast, but you still get that same effect. You can still pull it around and move it around, get the dimple effect going on, get the sediment up. Great leads. I wouldn't be without these in my box either. something that I always have with me. I always carry them with me kit on the beaches or sometimes in the river. I would probably use the watch lead more in the river. I like the footprint it's got, a little bit wider, it holds a little bit better, especially in the River Tyne on the mud flats. But a fantastic lead to have in your armoury nonetheless. Right, next we shall move on. Now, this is called a duck lead. Again, you may have seen these on my videos. I do use them quite a lot on the Northumberland beaches. Now, I've only started using these, in honesty, in the last kind of 6 months. I had used them previously to that, and I didn't really rate them, mainly because of the price, because they're quite expensive. They're about £2 each, possibly some more. It's a powder coated lead, and this powder coat is luminous, which is absolutely fantastic for a reason, but I'll tell you in a second. So I was using these leads a while ago, and I decided not to use them anymore. They weren't for me. But since having a recent, well, not so recent, a few months back, I fished with Ryan from Northern Tide Raiders with Fish George Bay, and he was using these. His control on the day, because of the surf, because there was a bit of surf running, was far better than mine. Because these are really good at digging in, and they do give you quite a bit of grip. I know they've got no wires, but surprisingly they do offer a lot of grip. And the beauty of these is they're aerodynamic. They're made for distance. You can cast them a long way. Lovely tapered section here at the back. They kind of dig in. They can, when they land, they can dig right in, and they can go into the sand or the mud like so, and it gives you a lot of grip in the bigger tides. So sort of a swell, kind of 3 foot over, but not horrendous, obviously not massive seas, but 3 to 4 foot swells are one of these. But these are important when distance is needed, because if you're going to cast something like this, it's just tumbles. When you cast with one, it just tumbles, it goes all over the place. But if you want distance, one of these. A secondary feature of these leads, which I love, is the inbuilt swivel. Now that stops your rig from getting tangled when the lead moves. So if the lead's rolling around on the bottom like so, your rig doesn't get turned over and wrapped up, because you can end up with a big ball. Your snoods can be tangled. It's a nightmare. That little swivel there eradicates all that problem. It's such a simple idea, but it's fantastic and it works. But I love these now. I'm banging into these again now. I really do like them. And what I was getting to before, if you're unfortunate enough to have a crack off, or your rig comes away for some reason, you can actually find the rig a lot easier with these leads. In the dark, these glow up, so at night time, absolutely fantastic. You can find where it is. If you're fishing an ebbing tide and you're going to follow it down to low, and you're fortunate enough to cast to the low before the low tide mark, you can't find your rig and retrieve it. I've done it many times. I do normally fish these in bright orange as well for the daytime, so that if I lose it, I can find it on the beach. Not only does it save you money because you're getting your rig back, but it also saves the environment, i.e. and the dog walkers. You don't want a dog going down the low tide mark and getting wrapped up in a rig that you've left or discarded. It wasn't your fault, it's snapped off, but you don't want that day. So these are really good for that. Coloured leads all the way. It is a very tough powder coat, and it takes some getting off, and at night time they're very bright actually when you charge them. Really good. Another lead that I like to use a lot is the Continental lead. These have been around for a decade, maybe more. I don't know. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I've been using them for about 6 years, something like that. Again, it incorporates the swivel, so the rig doesn't get twisted about. Difference between this one and the duck lead, it's still aerodynamic, but it offers you a lot more grip. You see these sides here, the fins, offer you way more grip in the tide, so it doesn't move around as fast. It will move gradually. But generally, I'll use these two leads when the sea's up a little bit more. Let's say if the surf's sort of 3-4 foot, the ball leads are ineffective. They'll just get chucked away and you'll get dragged around in the tide. But again, the other side to using leads is you have to use common sense. If the tide's massive, you're probably not going to get away with something like a little ball lead like this. You would switch it up. You might get away with a duck lead or possibly a Continental, and then after that you're going to go on to a grip lead, which we're going to come to soon. But use your common sense. Big tides, you're going to get a lot of tide pull. If you're fishing the beach on the ebb, it's going to go from the south to the north, so it's going to pull you from the right hand side to the left, and you'll probably end up in the surf if you're just using a ball lead and it's a big sea. Even a watch lead will get dragged around. And also, for those new to the sport, If you do have neighbours fishing close to you on the beach, in the river, or anywhere really, please take in consideration the tide. So if it is an ebbing tide and it's a big tide, so it's going from the south to the north, when you cast, adjust your cast accordingly. So you would cast to the south on an ebbing tide, cast to the south and let the line gradually drift round. Hopefully, if you've got some sort of grip or one of these leads on, it'll settle more or less in front of you by the time it gets bedded in with the tide flow. If you just cast straight out and you've got a neighbour 50 yards to your left, there's a possibility that that lead, if it's not one of these or a grip lead, is going to drag down and tangle in their lines. But most anglers know always to cast accordingly to get the tide to bring your gear around. But that's another thing. Maybe it's a video for another time, I don't know. It's all part of seacraft. It's all part of beachcraft. It's things that we need to know to make your fishing experience more pleasurable. You don't want any hassle when you're on the beach. You don't want to upset somebody who's trying to enjoy their time on the beach by tangling with them. I had this recently. Wasn't on the beach, but I did have this recently, and it's frustrating. And it's difficult to cope with sometimes if people are just not listening and not doing the right thing. So it's something important to learn. But maybe, as I say, maybe something for later on. There was another video, I don't know. But that's Continental lead. Fantastic little bits of kit. Now, finally, we'll get on to the leads that you all know and love. As a beginner, these are the first ones that you'll come across. So we'll have a plain lead and we'll have a grip lead or a spider lead. Now, plain lead, aerodynamic, great for casting, absolutely super popular with the rock lads. You're fishing the rock marks, plain lead all day for me. It's a personal choice. Some people like grip leads, but again, we'll get into that in a second. Plain leads for me on the rock ends. And what they've done in recent years, which is fantastic, is incorporated a little clip into the eyelet. So it reduces your tackle losses in essence if you're on heavy ground. So when you make your, say, a single hook clipped or a pulley rig even, you don't have to put the clip on the bottom with the hook retainer on. It's already built in. It's all there for you. So that saves one component on your rig, which is less. So you just have to go up to your beads, your pulley. That's it. So it's all about saving tackle. Heavy ground is tackle hungry. If you're new to the sport, it's something that you should do with somebody at first as well, because the rocks can be a little bit treacherous. Can't speak. The rocks can be a little bit treacherous, and it's good to get the knowledge from some other people as well as to where to cast into the kelp beds, out of the kelp beds into the gullies, how the rock formations are. Get some advice if you're going to go on the rock ends. It's not for the faint-hearted. You need to be careful, and especially at night. So anyway, so that's a plain lead. There are loads of different shapes and sizes. Generally, my rods are rated kind of 5 to 7, 8 ounces. So I use, this is the lightest end I would use on my bigger rods. Fishing the river, I would use a 5 ounce probably, then onto a 5 ounce grip when the tide's pulling. But at some points I will use heavier weights, 6 and 7 ounce. If I've got a headwind, if I've got to cast into the wind and punch through it, you need heavier leads for that as well. So if you think about it, a lead's not just a lead. It's not just a heavy thing that hangs at the end of your rig, is it? It's something that has many uses. You need to think about how you're using your leads and what leads you're using. Wind speed, wind direction, how you want the rig to behave on the seabed or the riverbed. It's all down to this humble little lead, which is very important. So finally, we've got the spider or the grip lead. It's just as it suggests. It's got legs that fold down, the break away when you pull the rig back in. So when you're pulling the rig back in, they've hopefully broken away like that and you can get your rig back. But when you first put it out and you want your bait to stay exactly where you've cast it, or on a big tide where you want to reduce that pull, you know, that what I was just talking about, you would put the grips up and you would fish it like this. Now, I do mine in 2 different ways. When I bend them like this, I obviously bend them here for the collar, because when they come, when you buy them from the lads or from the shop, these legs will more than likely be straight and there'll be an elastic band on. I bend them down to retain the collar, which sits in, I can show you, which sits in the little divot here, which keeps it closed, like that. But what I do is I bend it there, and I also bend it at the tip for soft ground, like mud and sand. I think it gets a little bit of a better grip when it goes in, if you imagine it just like that. When it goes in, it gets a little bit of a better grip, but that's just my personal preference. Some lads leave them straight. For the rocks, I just leave them straight, because if I do use them on the rock ends, which is quite rare because I'm in the plain lead brigade, there's a bit of a conflict, not a conflict, but there's a bit of difference of opinion. Some people prefer plain lead on the rocks, some people prefer grip lead. They like it, with the grip lead, they like to cast into say a gully, and they like to stay there, they want it to hold. That's why they use these. But on the other side, the flip of it, you may be fishing into ground that you're not really familiar with, and you might want it to move around a bit to find the fish, drop into the gullies and the kelp beds, and that's where that comes into play. For me, I get these back probably 90% of the time. Whereas when I've used a grip lead on the rock ends, depending on the ground, how heavy it is and sea conditions, I would probably lose these 50% of the time. But again, it's personal preference. But you will hear this referred to as a grip lead or a spider weight. Sometimes people call them breakaways, which is mainly due to the company Breakaway when they manufacture their own, but they're just grip leads, basically. Little tip while I'm on with the grip lead, this distance here between the two legs denotes how easily that will release. If you're somewhere where you don't want it to release too easily, you really want to keep a grip, you get these two prongs, you push them together like so, make them narrower, and when you push them into the, if I can get the collars to stay in the right place, when you push them into the recesses, it's a lot firmer. So it means it takes a little bit more to break this leg out. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm not the best at explaining things sometimes. But basically, the tighter that is against the lead body, the harder it is for you to break it out. This one's quite tight here because I've tightened it down before. That one's quite tight, see? Whereas that one, I've spread out a little bit and it's a little slacker. I would use those when I'm on the beach. I open these up a little bit, make them a little bit wider so that it comes away just that bit easier, because I've said it in my videos, if you've watched them you will have seen, the reason I don't like using these on the beach is because they dig right in, and sometimes it's like fishing hard ground. It gets that buried that you just snap off when you try to pull it out. You know, I've had that happen a couple of times, especially in the bigger seas. If you're fishing for bass and there's a big sea on, say 5-foot swells, you know, or in the winter when the cod are in, then I would use a grip lead all the time. But I would set the grips accordingly. I don't want them to be too firm, but I don't want them to be too loose that it breaks away and goes with the tide. Because when you are fishing the beach at night for the cod in the winter, there's nearly always a surf on. You are casting into some holes, so you do want it to move around a little bit, but you need this to stop it drifting off down south or north, but also think about your neighbours again. People who are fishing next to you, you don't want to be going over the lines. Keep your rigs in check, keep them straight as you can, and keep them down on the bottom and you'll catch more fish. But yeah, the leads are a massive, important part of your kit. It's not just something heavy that hangs on the end of the rig. As I say, they're very important. They've all got their own little pluses and minuses, used it in the right conditions. So I hope it's been helpful to those who are new to the sport. I'm not trying to be condescending to the people who know these things, and some people might have different views. They might use leads for different reasons to me. I don't know. But all these leads I've shown you are what's always in my tackle box, and I take them with me, and I know that I use them in certain situations. That's the be all and end all. So I'm not trying to preach to the preacher, if you like. It's mainly me trying to be helpful and hopefully helping people who are thinking about getting into the sport or are new to it and they're fishing and they're lost a little bit. I get it all the time at work. I get people coming in and asking questions that most anglers would say, oh, do they not know that? I mean, you've got to remember when you first take your mind back to when you first started fishing. It's a minefield. You didn't know everything. Nobody ever does. I don't believe anyone knows everything about fishing. We're all learning all of the time, and I love that. That's one of the part of the sport that actually makes me smile, is that every time you go out, there's something new to do, and there's something new to enjoy, and there's something new to learn. I learn from everybody that I fish beside, because they've always got things, little nuances and little tricks and tips that they've got that can improve my fishing. So I'm happy to listen to them, and I'm more than happy to pass what I know on to other people. That is the name of the game. My whole purpose on YouTube, to be honest, apart from first and foremost, my videos are a diary, and secondly, it's to share what little knowledge I have with other people. It's not about any other YouTubers or trying to be Billy Big Bollocks, as I keep saying. All I do is put my content out in the hope that you will find it useful or maybe it's entertaining. That's all I'm interested in. I do my own thing. I go to my own places. I don't follow crowds. I do everything the way I want to do it for my enjoyment for fishing. So I hope you understand that. But I hope it's been helpful. I had been asked about this video and I promised I would do it. So it's a little short video, just very quick, just going over the leads. There are more leads on the market, by the way, a lot more. They do different things. These are just what I have in my tackle box. But thank you very much for watching. I hope everybody's well. And I really do appreciate all the comments I've been getting on the channel. Interaction. I love having a natter. I could talk forever. Honestly, I could. I love a natter. So I hope it's been helpful. I hope you enjoyed the channel. If you're new, please consider subscribing. It means a lot. All the comments, likes, everything helps the channel. And if it helps the channel, it helps me. I work all my videos around my work, so I get out when I can. Obviously, my work is more important than the YouTube channel is. I'm not doing this for a living. I'm not really interested in that. Everything that I go out, I buy, is bought by my money. All the bait that I have, on the whole, is paid for with my money. Get a little bit of help now and again, which is much appreciated. But apart from that, it's just about getting out and sharing my adventures and my fun with you. So, I hope you're well, as I say. Have a great time. Have a great week. And hopefully we'll see you on another one. But until then, take care and tight lines.